Biden for president, maybe. Trump continues as president? Well, that's up to the courts. The Georgia runoffs for the final 2 Senate seats will also be just as critical as the Democrats need to win both seats. Blake Christian is a partner at Holthouse Carlin Van Trigt. Blake, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, Mike.
What are some of the uncertainties as we come to year end with no outcome yet of the presidential and Senate elections?
Yeah, I think this is actually the first time in my 40-year career that we've had this, and it's really critical from a tax planning perspective, because right now we're pretty well settled that Biden's going to take the presidency, although Trump is challenging him in the courts. But the wild card is what's going to happen with those 2 Senate seats that you mentioned in Georgia. And as you also mentioned, if the Democrats win both of them, then they'll control the executive branch as well as the Senate, which is critical to tax policy as well as controlling the court system, as much as you can control the court system. And so it's kind of hard for our clients to figure out, are we going to have tax hikes in 2021? Should I accelerate income into 2020? Should I defer expenses into 2021 when they'll be more valuable? And so we're developing some strategies around that, but it's a very unique time in the United States for sure.
What do we know a Biden admin will do with taxes?
Well, they're going to go up. It's really strange. I can never remember anybody's part of their platform bragging that they're going to increase taxes. Now he was careful to say, only if you make more than $400,000, but we'll see about that. So he plans on increasing ordinary rates from a high of 37% up to 39.6%. And then on the real scary part is he's talking about a capital gain rate, long-term capital gain for assets held more than a year. Those could go up to 43.4% from the current 23.8%, which would be pretty devastating, I think, for attracting investment capital. But I don't think seriously that they'll go that high. But I'm telling clients to prepare that they may go up into the low 30s.
Could the economy or the business sector take that sort of shock? Because it really is a shock. I mean, you plan year in, year out. And to have a curveball like that, it's pretty shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's we've had a very business-friendly tax system since the beginning of 2018 as a result of Trump's 2017 Tax Act, and certainly a huge contributor to the booming economy that we had up until the time that COVID kind of took over the economy. So, as you're getting at, it's, could very well really slam on the brakes on already a pretty fragile economy. So I was on a panel this morning, and, the consensus on that with a lot of economists and tax people was that maybe, he won't get this through Congress, even if he controls the Senate. It may not come into play until calendar 2022. So just to give the economy some time to recover. But as you've said, the Democrats have to win both those seats. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that would make that a pretty tough deal for them to get both of those, just because of the makeup of Georgia, but we'll see.
What about strategies to maximize flexibility and tax impact, regardless then of the outcome of the elections?
Yeah, so just a few things that we're working with clients on is you can sell assets under an installment sale basis. And so you might say, give me 100,000 down and give me a note for 900,000. If you can't do that with publicly traded stocks and things, but let's say that was a piece of land or you're selling a business. You could even do it with selling a building up to a point, and you could defer $900,000 of income and the related gain on that until the following year. There's one caveat to that: if you're selling depreciable assets, like a building, property and equipment, that depreciation that you've claimed in the past, to the extent that would be recovered because of the fair market value of the asset that you're selling, that can get accelerated into the year of the sale, even if you collected no cash on that deal. So, but by making the installment sale structure, you can elect out of the installment sale treatment and accelerate all of that income into 2020 rather than 2021, and get the guaranteed lower tax rate. But you wouldn't have to really make that election until you file your return. And if the Republicans hold the Senate and you say, oh, okay, the tax rates very likely aren't going to go up, then you go ahead and elect the installment sale treatment and defer the income into 2021, because you're not going to have a tax rate increase in that year unless they can pull some Republicans over on their side.
Who knows? There's a couple there that sort of waver a bit, so we'll have to have a word to those.
And the other big one is that I talk about all the time is the Opportunity Zone program. And again, you don't have to make that decision until 2021 whether you're going to roll your capital gains and defer them until 2026 or have them taxed in 2020. So there's a handful of other techniques like that you can kind of walk the line and not really make your decision until we know the outcome of the Senate election.
What do we know what the Biden administration will do in the first 100 days, such as other policies that will impact particular industries? One that comes to mind is climate change.
Yeah, that's probably their big one, and it's got a $2 trillion price tag on it, and most people during the debates, we're putting a $4 billion price tag on that. So Senator Kerry will be carrying the mantle for that program. So that one's kind of scary. Not only the price tag, but just the impact on businesses and things. Ironically, I saw a post the other day that had a recharging machine for electronic vehicles, and it was powered by a diesel generator, and I just thought that was about as ironic as it gets,
Donald loves windmills, or others call them wind farms, but windmill really suits it. It's and they say a windmill for renewable energy, once you've installed the windmill and built it, put it on the land, nothing needs to be done to it for about 30 years. And then in 30 years, you have to build a really big hole and put the windmill in, because you can't get rid of these monstrosities. So renewable energy certainly has, I suppose, it's attractive to some, but the cost-benefit analysis, jury's out on that one, isn't it?
Right. And you see a lot of those. They have a lot of them in Wyoming. There's a whole bunch of them out in Palm Springs in California. And you see a lot of those not turning, and sometimes you'll see them, being maintained, laying on their sides. They're just not very attractive, and they don't work too well at night when you don't get a lot of wind, so they're not 24 hours.
Also interesting, if you could tell me, in Australia, for example, and other Western countries, in the UK, for example, and New Zealand, the government has subsidies for renewable energy. If they were so efficient, why would they need a subsidy?
It's an excellent point, and that on the tax legislative front, that's kind of always the position, is if you're needing to prop up an industry with with tax credits and things like that, it's apparently not efficient on its own. And as I've said before, I don't have a problem with having some subsidies, but what I would like to see is where those subsidies would be recaptured when that industry becomes profitable. I mean, Tesla, with all due respect to Elon Musk, he's built a fantastic company, but at the same time, all of those tax credits on those cars, 7,500 and all sorts of different numbers for different models that were given out, and and these were wealthy people buying these vehicles for the most part, didn't really need to necessarily incentivize those. But now, when he sold millions of cars, maybe they should be clawing back some of those credits and putting a surcharge on some of these.
What about his other priority initiatives? Will they impact the economy and employment, such as COVID-19, immigration, citizenship for illegals? List goes on.
Yeah, so in police reform and so on. So I mean, a lot of the COVID-related items are things that are right out of Trump's playbook. Obviously he has. He says he's going to rely more on the science and things, and so. But for the most part, the rollout of the vaccines and all those types of things, obviously those are well underway, and by the time he takes office, I don't know if it's going to make a whole lot of sense for him to change direction on how those are going to be distributed and things. I know Kamala Harris is in charge of some ethnic elements to make sure that the inoculations are go to some of the harder hit. Obviously, the African Americans and Hispanics were hit a little bit harder, and their mortality rates are higher, and so they clearly want to get the vaccines out to those subgroups a little more quickly, along with the elderly, and those are all good. But they're all going to be, all these programs are going to cost money, and and that's where the tax hikes come in. So there'll definitely be some redistributions of wealth through this process.
If somebody wants to find out more about opportunity zones or future taxation headaches, how do they contact Blake Christian?
So the easiest way is just Google Blake Christian CPA. Our firm website, Holthouse Carlin Van Trigt, is www.hcvt.com.
Fabulous. Again next week, Blake Christian from Holthouse Carlin Van Trigt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.